Now, policymakers in Japan are hoping companies will aggressively hike wages when they go into annual negotiations with unions next spring. Several unions have said they will be seeking pay increases of more than 3%. Economists in Japan say wages need to begin growing faster than the rising cost of living. The National Bank is also waiting for wages to increase naturally before it can begin normalizing its ultra-loose monetary policy. All right, for more details on this, we are joined by DD India's Japan correspondent, Chris Gilbert. Good morning, Chris. Fill us in on what unions are likely to ask for at next year negotiations.
Good morning. Yeah, well, a few unions now have come out with their expectations or what they would like to see as a result of these negotiations next spring. The largest trade union, Confederate Rengo, is going to ask for 5% pay increase. UA Zensen, which is another large union, 6%. The Metal Workers Union, that's car makers, 3%, and small manufacturers unions, about 4%. Now, for context, in the previous round of negotiations in the spring we just had earlier in 2023, there was about a 3.6% pay increase win, especially for large firms. But the cost of living, the consumer price index is rising year on year between 3 and 4% every month for the last few months. And economists say it is pivotal that wages do outpace that rising cost of living. And so this is what they're going to be looking for. A lot is riding on this, especially for the unions. They historically like to pursue conditions, workplace conditions. Japanese companies usually look after employees for life. Now the focus is swinging to wage increases, which is not historically the case. So that pivot really indicates what an important moment this is and how important those wage hikes are.
But Chris, also both the government and National Bank say that wage growth is essential for the economy. We want to know from you, what is at stake here?
Yeah, so both monetary and fiscal policy is really looking for natural growth in wages. The cost of living rise in Japan can really be put down to, for the most part, the rising value of import commodities. Now, import prices are increasing because while other major economies like the US for the last year or so have been aggressively hiking interest rates to battle inflation, Japan's national bank has not been doing so. In fact, it's kept its interest rates very, very low to really spur consumer activity coming out of the pandemic. But what that means, what that divergence means, the yen is very weak, the cost of imports is very high, and consumers are seeing that in their utility bills and at the till as well. Now, the Bank of Japan says it wants to slowly back away from that monetary policy. There's a lot of speculation about how it's going to do so, but it says it wants wages to grow naturally. That puts a lot of pressure on employers, and the government is stepping in, as we saw earlier this week, with a $90 billion package to help, as they say, realize sustainable wage growth and help small and medium-sized businesses and consumers while all of this takes place. So it's a historical moment, really, as the focus in Japan really looks to a push in wage hikes for everyday workers.
All right, Chris, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest from Tokyo.